Hello again. I have long held the opinion that for all their hand-wringing about the evils of violence and the undesirability of fighting, it is the middle classes in Britain who are the ones who always instigate wars that this country becomes embroiled in. The middle class sets up the war, bangs the drum, and persuades working men that it is their patriotic duty to go off and fight. Much the same is happening today. I have never in my life seen any foreign leader being given a standing ovation in the House of Commons. What on earth is going on that we have a televised address in Parliament by a Ukrainian? I certainly don't recollect anything of the kind when Kuwait was invaded by Iraq in 1990 or Afghanistan fell to the Russians in 1979. The Speaker in the Commons is always very strict about procedure, and clapping has never been allowed in the House. Suddenly, that convention, which has been around for centuries, is abandoned, and twice in the space of a week the chamber has echoed with applause. What on earth is going on? What is going on is that we are being softened up for A, a huge influx of Eastern European immigrants, and B, a war with Russia. Neither prospect fills me with enthusiasm. Not for the first time, Poland is inextricably mixed up in the business. Trust them to stir it up and do the best to draw us into a quarrel, their quarrel with another country. The latest stunt by the Poles, which entails their aircraft being flown to an American base and then from there into the Ukraine, would mean NATO with American pilots operating in the skies above Ukraine, and in effect becoming involved militarily in the war between Russia and Ukraine. I'm sure we all know that under the terms of NATO, if any one NATO country becomes mixed up in a war, they all do. So in other words, if Poland were attacked, Britain would have to go to war. This is all such a terrible idea that I hardly know how to put into words my horror and sense of impending doom. Is it really possible that nobody today remembers when a British Prime Minister broadcast to the nation on September the 3rd, 1939? Perhaps a quotation from his broadcast might jog a few memories. Unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war. Tell me, does any normal person in Britain really wish to get involved in a Polish scheme that will involve us in a European war? Again. That not a single MP yesterday had the courage to remain in his or her seat when all the clapping was going on is alarming and depressing in equal measure. It suggests that the whole of the House of Commons, which is to say our representatives, are feeling very gung-ho and ready for action. Even those on the Labour benches who have moaned about the war in Iraq and support CND are now clapping and cheering with the best of them. I must end with two questions. If there was a war with Russia, who do viewers think will bear the brunt of it and be likely to suffer the most casualties? Well-to-do middle-class types or ordinary working men? If efforts to bring in 250,000 Eastern Europeans to Britain succeed, who will benefit from this move and who will suffer? I never thought I would live to see this kind of mania and desire to join in a European war in my lifetime. The generations above me, that is to say my father and my grandparents, would not have been so keen on this nonsense, I'm quite sure.